So recently, there's been a movement to create a way for individuals with disabilities to make better decisions and to not need to be conserved. It's called supported decision making. I'm going to talk all about that in this video. So for many years, a lot of children with developmental disabilities, when they turn 18, have been conserved. What does that mean? That means that the parent or someone else has gone to the judge and said, "Hey judge, my child does not have the capacity to make their own decisions and I need to continue to make their decisions for them." And then the judge says, "Okay." And they take away that child who maybe turned 18 or is 20 or 25, their ability to make their own decisions, and then allows the parent to continue to make decisions for them. This is called a limited conservatorship. And I actually have a video on this process if you'd like to see this. But a limited conservatorship is not for everybody. For some people, they want to make their own decisions, and they might even if they have a developmental disability, they might have the capacity to be able to make decisions. They just might need a bit of extra help with it. Other people cannot be conserved. If your child has a mental health challenge and they're not part of the regional center, then there's no limited conservatorship available to them. That's only for people with developmental disabilities. Or maybe you don't want to stigmatize your child and give them the understanding that you don't think they can make their own decisions. So in a lot of situations where limited conservatorships are not appropriate, people have been turning to something called supported decision making. Also, there have been some abuses with conservatorships, unfortunately. There was this story of a developmentally disabled, a woman with Down syndrome named Jenny Hatch. She was in Virginia and she was living her highest and best life. She was working part-time at a thrift store and living with some friends. And then she got into an accident and her parents, her mother and stepfather, conserved her and put her in a group home far away from where she wanted to be. And it was really distressing for her. And she was like, "But I can make my own decisions." So she fought back and she actually was able to undo the conservatorship. So there's a movement now of saying, hey, we really don't want to take away people's rights to make their own decisions. We want to support them in making their own rights. That's exactly what supported decision making is. So in supported decision making, you have disabled people, which we call the deciders. And they put basically a supportive team around them, and each adult on the team is called a supporter. And those supporters help them make decisions. Now, I think we all do this, don't we? Anyone who makes decisions, we don't just make it in a vacuum. We get advice from other people. Like when I was going through law school, I got advice from my dad, who was a lawyer, on, what should I study? What should I do? He helped me out. But when I wanted dating advice, I got some advice from a different friend who was in a happy relationship. So is my dad, but from a different friend about, who should I date? What should I be thinking about? Right? So we each have people who we go to for different reasons. And that's what we try to set up with supported decision making. So in this, we are really respecting and supporting the disabled person's ability to make their own choices, their own preferences, and in a way that they can communicate. They may be nonverbal, or maybe it's harder for them to speak. Maybe they can communicate in other methods. Those methods are also encouraged. So any way we can find out what is somebody's preference, we want to honor that preference. And there have been studies done that disabled people who are able to make their own choices actually make better choices. They learn how to make better choices, and they have higher self-esteem. They're less likely to be taken advantage of, and they have better physical and mental health, which is what we all want for our children. All right, so just a brief history about supported decision making. Where did it come from? Well, it really originated worldwide. It started in Sweden. They had a program there in the 1980s and 90s. They got this started, and then British Columbia in Canada kind of continued this. So we see different countries taking a stab at empowering disabled people to be able to make their own decisions. Then in 2006, the UN passed a convention on the rights of persons with disabilities. And so far that's been ratified by 185 countries, although not by the US. So in the United States, now about 20 states have ratified or passed laws concerning supported decision-making, at least acknowledging it and perhaps even encouraging it. And here's a map of all the states so far that have passed some form of supported decision-making. Texas, by the way, was the first state, and one of the most recent states is the state of California. So just last year, so when I'm speaking, it's 2023, last year in January of 2022, this bill was introduced, AB 1663, and it was passed into law in September of 2022. And this bill goes into a lot of details of how we enact supported decision-making, how do we make sure that a supporter is good and is not a financial predator, how do we set it up with the court system. There's a lot of different details that I'm not going to go into today, but suffice it to say, there's really great information out there.
Hey everyone, if you like my mom's video, like and subscribe.
I really love this comic strip that really shows the difference between guardianship, or here in California we call it conservatorship, and supported decision-making. So you'll see over here with guardianship, there's somebody who's expressing their preference. They're saying, hey, I want to live here with my friends. And then their conservator is saying, nope, I don't think that's a good idea for you. I'm going to sell the house and I'm going to have you live where I want you to live. But then with supported decision-making, we have the decider, the disabled person saying, can you help me figure out how to buy a house and live in it with my friends? And then the supporter is supporting the decider in the areas that the supporter wants the help. And the supporter says, sure, I'll help you do it. Shall we start by seeing what you can afford? So the supporter isn't just throwing things out there. Usually they're the best person to advise them in this situation. They're not the conservator. They don't have the last legal making power, but they can be a very good advisor. So what does this agreement look like? Well, in California, we have not yet released an agreement. So I wanted to share with you one that the ACLU actually put out, and I think it's really good. So let me share that with you. So you'll see on this form, and it's supposed to be in very simple writing, by the way. So it says, my name is, and then the decider, the disabled person, fills in their name. And, I want people to help me make my decisions. They're supporters, but they're not allowed to make the decisions for me. They're supposed to help me make my decisions. And then the decider, the disabled person, fills out all their information. And by the way, it says that the agreement can be changed at any time. This is not tying the decider's hands. It's not tying anybody to anything. You can always change it. Okay, on page 2, this is where somebody will list who they want to be their supporter. So they write down, okay, here's the person, the adult that I want to support me in my decision making, and here are the areas that I want help with. So, about personal care, making choices about food or clothing, hygiene, how to stay safe, choices about home, work, and friends, health choices, choices about dating and partners, choices about money management, and they can always fill in any other areas that they think are important that they want support in. Now you can see that somebody needs to have a certain level of capacity in order for this to work. Someone actually has to have the ability to make decisions, to not only express their wishes, but then kind of weigh the pros and cons and come to a conclusion. And not everybody with disabilities is able to do that. So for some people, a limited conservatorship might still be appropriate. So then we have, when can my supporters talk about me? So, we may not want them gossiping about us behind their backs. So they can only talk about me when I say it's okay. And otherwise, you can check the box. Yeah, when I say, by checking this box, I'm saying it's okay for my supporters to talk about me. And then you can also talk about how you want the supporters to meet, if they want them to meet with you or with each other, and then any special directions you have. So again, it's supposed to be very clear, straightforward, easy to understand. And then this one's interesting. If somebody's actually said that they want help with their money, you can also name a monitor. So this is somebody to kind of oversee, almost like a trust protector, but we're not talking about trusts. We want them to monitor how the money is spent to make sure that the supporter who's helping out with the money doesn't pilfer or take any of that money. And then it also encourages you, or it encourages the disabled person, the decider, to attach other forms. If they have a HIPAA waiver, if they have a durable power of attorney or a healthcare directive, those should also be included so everybody knows who's being named as a surrogate decision maker. Now this part is really important. We want the supporters to understand that they've been listed, and we want their buy-in. So they need to sign and date the agreement as well. So they understand which areas they're supporting the decider on and make sure that they're enthusiastic and cooperative. And finally, this document should be notarized. So where do we go now? Well, if you've already conserved your child, you may decide to keep the conservatorship, or you might decide to end it. If you're thinking about whether you should conserve your child or whether supported decision-making might make sense, please talk with your estate planning attorney, talk with your special needs planning attorney, and ask them, work through for your child. Every child is different. Some children might take very well to supported decision-making. Other children might need more protection. The challenge with supported decision-making is there's really no gatekeeper. There's no official overseer. This doesn't go through the court system. So it's possible that a child could fall through the cracks or things don't work out well. There could even be some liability for the supporters. This is so new in California. There's a lot of things we don't know about it. So I can't go into every detail just because we don't know. But really think through which approach might work best for your child and get some advice. Get some supporters of your own, some people who you can bounce these ideas off of and see, now we have more options for our children with disabilities. Isn't that wonderful?
Hello everyone! If you liked my mom's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you all next time!